Okay, yeah. So we last class, I believe we discussed about Flexbox and also how to position an items like using floats or fixed positioning. So mostly all these CSS properties that deals with positioning are mostly used for layouts, like I said. So we have like for example, the flex box. You can use it to create one-dimensional layout. So you have like a column here, you can have another column here, and then you can have another column here. So these are mostly used for creating layout of the page. So apart from Flexbox, we also have um, we also have another kind of layout that we can use, and that is called grid. So unlike Flexbox, grid is two-dimensional, while Flexbox is just one-dimensional. So let me open this class in oh, just give me a moment. I don't know what's going on. It's a switch system. I don't know what's going on today. Yeah. So, is there any question from last class before I start discussing?
No question from my side.
Okay. So, can can you provide with grid? So, like I said, grid is mostly a two-dimensional layout. And how do we create a grid? So we can just create a div and then so let's see. Like I'll give it a class of um. So let me just keep it consistent. So the last one I used flex container. So let me use a grid container for this one. Okay. So in the grid, I can then have um multiple. Let's just give this one to one multiple grid items. So let's just see the way it looks now. Browser. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so we just have the basic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because it's just what we have so far. So now we can then use the class of grid container, I believe. grid dash content. So how do we create a grid? Just like similar to flex, whereby we just say display equals to flex. The same way for grid, we just say display grid. So basically, this is how to create a grid. But then we have, let me give it like a background color so that we can see what we are working on the browser. So let me just give it a yellow color. Let's see. Yeah, so nothing changes, just the background color that we added. So nothing changes here. But then we have different grid containers, different kind of properties on these grid containers. And the kind of properties we can specify is we have something like we can specify the column. Like I remember I said grid is like a two-dimensional. So it's just like a table in HTML whereby you have the row and then you have the column. So similarly in grid, you can have your column and you can also have the row. So we can specify how many columns we have or how many rows we have. And the way we do that in grid is we just say the grid templates. So you can have the template row or the template column. So for the column, let's say we give it we want like three columns. You can give it maybe any width you want, but I'm just going to give it an auto. So this is basically saying that just look at the width of the page and then give each of them a specific amount of those spaces that is going to, as long as they're going to be equal amount of spaces. So if we refresh this is going to become a three-column grid. Like you see, you have one, you have two, and you have three. So this is like one column, two column, and the third column. But then let me actually add a class to each one of these divs so that way we can see we can differentiate which one to which one. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to give this one a class of one so we can see the difference. So I'm just going to give this one 1, give this one 2, give this one 3, give this one class 4. So we know that this is the one we're working with and stuff like that. Yeah, plus 5. So I'm going to do in this, I'm just going to give them different background colors so that we can know which one is which. So let me give this one, let me give this one green. That is one. Then I can do two. Give this one 3. This one 4. This 5. And this 6. Oh my bad. Okay, so now for this one, let me see. Let's give the 2, let's give it a blue color. The 3, let's give it, cyan. The 4, let's give it something like brown, something. So the 5th one, let's give it a gray color. The 6th one, let's give it something like that. Oh, yeah. So we can just differentiate the way they look. Yep. So now you can see that this is different color. This is the first column. This is the first column, second column, third column. And then this is like the first row. This is like the second row. One thing we can also do is that let me add like height to one of these. So that way you can, yeah. So if we refresh this now, we see that these ones have height of 50 because they automatically pick up the heights specified to this, except if we go individually and specify different heights. So so now I'm still talking about the grid container. These ones are just the grid items, but let's just focus on the grid container and the kind of property you can specify for it. So like I was saying, the grid template column, I can specify maybe like a width for it. I can say, okay, this one should be 50 pixel and this one should be, let's say, 100 pixel, and then this should be auto. So if I save this and refresh this, you see that now we have this one as 2, this one as 3, and then this one is auto. And then it's going to, hold on, there's a mistake. We have one flying all over here. Let's see what we, oh, okay. This is what we have. We have one over here. That's probably because if the width is not enough for the page, then it's going to jump to the next line. So let me just specify something for this. Okay, so let's see. Yeah. So now we have, hold on. It seems like we've done something wrong. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1. So I just want to see, this is class 1. What? Okay, let's backtrack a little bit. Even when we backtrack, we still have it. Okay, so let's just debug it and see where the error lies. Okay, wait, container. This is one. Okay, I see. I see. Okay. Now I see. You know that we are already using these classes here, over here. So that is why those classes that we already specify over here. Yep. So it's going to also affect, we already specify them, and that's why it's affecting the classes we specify here. So that's why. So one thing we can do is, instead of doing this, I can just say this is for grade. So let me just add grade 1 to all of them. So that way we don't have conflicting properties to deal with. So let's just keep it fresh. Okay, so I'm gonna add one, because I was like, I can't see, we've not really done much. So what's going on? Okay, yep. So if I refresh it now, we have 1, 2, 3. So we have them in order. So now, like I said, now we can specify this as, let me give it like 100 pixel. We can specify this another, let's say 150 pixel, and then we can give an auto to this to take whatever spaces that is left. So there's no hard-coded value for it. It's just going to take the available space. Yeah, so this one has the specified width. This one also has the specified width, but this one takes the space that is left on the page. So it's going to, that's why it's called auto. So let's say we only want like 2 columns. We don't want, we don't want 3. So we can just simply remove like the last one. So if we remove this and then we refresh it, then you see now we have just only 2 columns, 1 and 2. And then we have, it's automatically breaks into 3 rows, but we'll still discuss about the rows. So now we have just 1 and 2. So I can also like maybe specify this as, let's say, 300 pixel, and then I can say this one should be auto. And then if I refresh this also, yep. So this one is gonna take a 300 pixel, and then this is gonna be taking whatever width that is left on the page. So that is also, one thing I want to, before I forget that, also, you can also specify it in a different way. For example, you can say 1F, you can use this one as 1FR, then the next one might be 2FR, and then the next one might be um 3FR. So, or you can just say maybe 1FR. So what is just going to happen in this scenario is that this one, let's say we have 100 width, right? And then it's going to take it in ratio 1:2 to 1. So ratio 1:2 to 1. So now if you refresh this page, this space will be shared among the three. And you can see that the width of this one, the first one, and the width of this third um, column, they are the same thing. But if you look at this, the second column, the width is, much more larger than the two of them. So it's just because the available width on that page will be shared in any specified value given to it. So let's say I change this to 2FR, 1FR, and then this is 3FR. So it's just going to divide it between both of them in that specified ratio. So this is 2FR. So this is just going to be this times two of this one will be for this, and times three of this one will be for this. So it's just going to share the space among them. So let me just give it 1FR. So 1FR. Yeah. So if I want to add one more column, I can just, let's say, add one FR, and it's just going to become 4 column. So yeah, so that's how easy it is to just create 1, 2, 3, 4. So it becomes 4 column. So that is for that. I'm just going to remove this. Yeah. So that is for the column. Also, we have the one for the row, and that one is called grid template row. So basically, we can specify how high do you want the row to be, just like the length of the row. So let's say, for example, the first row, I can say, okay, let this first row be 300 pixel. Let's save this and then refresh the page. Now you can see this is 300 pixel. This one is 300. I mean, the height is 300 pixel. This height is also 300 pixel. Do you know why this one is not taking the 300 pixel? Can anybody give me an idea? This one is taking the whole height. This one is also 300 pixel height, but this one is not. Why is that? Any
Can you go
idea?
back to the source code?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, maybe because you already defined 50 pixel for that second grid height. If you look at the
One,
CSS
you
file
mean
again,
this?
yeah, yes,
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
that's true. Yeah, so because you know that this one is like the general for the general rule, but when we specify when we give it a specific value for that specific row or column, then it's going to override the parent because we are specifying another value to the child. So it's going to override whatever is in the parent. So that is why we don't have this to be, because the 50 pixel height is going to override the parent, which is 300 pixel, and then it's going to take that. So I just want to make sure that we understand why, so that way we don't have to, talk more about it. So the next one we also have. Oh, okay. By the way, that is for the first row. So we can also do the same thing for the second row. So if we want the second row to also be, let's say, We also want the second row to be 100 pixel. So this is just going to be for the second row. So if you refresh this, yep. So now this one is also 100 pixel. Can you see? So that is basically, but let me just reduce this. It's too wide. I mean, too tall. So let me just reduce this to, no, let me reduce it. Yes, now you can see it. Okay. Okay, yep. So that is for that. If we have like the third row, we can also give it another value. Say, for example, 50 pixel. So if we refresh this, there's no third row in this case. So it's just going to stretch the grid container itself. It's going to stretch the grid container. But if there is like a row there, then it's just going to automatically give those contents that height. So but in this case, we don't have it. So let's just remove it. So this is also the grid for the grid container. That's the grid template rows. Also, we also have other properties that we can specify for the grid container. One of them is we talk about the gap in Flexbox, whereby we say the gap can be used to specify like a margin between those boxes. Similarly, in grid also, you can do something like that. So the gap can also be used to specify the spaces between the grid items. So let's just give it a gap. Let me give it a gap of 20 pixel. Then let's try this. Yep. So now you see that there's a gap between this box 1 and box 4. And also there's a gap between this box 1 and box 2. So that is the gap just acts like a margin. So just like a margin between boxes. So it gives it spaces between them. The same thing, there's a gap between 2 and 3, and also there's a gap between the 3 and 6, and also 5 and the surrounding boxes. So that's basically what gap is, used for. Also, we can also have the justify items. We can have the justify items, and also we can also have the align items. So in Flexbox, we also discuss something similar, whereby we say that like the justify items, we can use it to like horizontally align the grid items, and the align items can be used to vertically align the grid items. So let's just see how that works. So let me specify justify items. So in this case, I'm just going to say it should be center. So let's see what it looks like. So if I refresh this, yep. So now the grid, the grid items now they are centered inside each of those inside each of the box. So they are centered. Now, if we also give it another value, let's say, for example, I said the justify should be starts. It's just going to move to the beginning of that container. So let's see the way it looks. Now you can see each of them are starting at the beginning of the container. So, but mostly the most common value that they mostly give to it is just the stretch. So you just stretch across, which is like the default. So you can say stretch. Then you can see, yeah, so you just stretch across the page. Similarly, we also have the align items. Okay, I think, although there's other values too, but let me just give this one. And let's see the way it looks. And yeah, so the end also align the items at the end of each of those boxes. So let's go back to stretch. Also, the align items can be used to vertically align those grid inside the columns. So if I give this one the let's say central. Let's see. So you can see the space above and below it. So you're just going to align it, vertically align it to the center of each of the columns. So it's going to vertically align them. Although most people don't use those properties, but there are some special cases. Maybe you might need it. That's why it's there. But stretch is the most commonly used values for all these properties. So just gonna give it stretch, which is the default value. And also you can do the same thing. You can give it a start or a end, whichever one you want. So it, it doesn't matter. So that is for the align items. Another one we use is the justify content. So the justify content is like used to align the entire grid. Is not just each of the column or each of the box, like the entire grid. So you can say justify it to the center. But then I think for we to see the effects, we might need to, let's say, yeah, we won't have anything. So let me just give this to, let's see, starts center. Let's give this center. Then let's see. So if we give it a let's say, let's give it a start. Okay, so that means we have to give it a center for we to see this specific effect. But if we give this a start, so basically what this justify content does is that it's mainly just align the entire grid, not just individual column, the entire grid in this container, which is like these all items. This similarly also for the let's see, the grid column, or what kind of property can we specify also? Hmm. I'm thinking of the kind of example I can give that can maybe show this effect. Let me see this. Okay, let's do something. Let me give it a border. Let's give this entire I think that should be able to see something. It seems like let's let's see what we can do um with the columns. Okay, I feel that we are missing it. We, let me use this one on for pixel. I think. Okay, let's see. Okay, yep. Now I think we have something. So, yep, yep. So now what is happening is that, like I said, that this justified content is mostly used for um, aligning all the columns inside that container. So but for it to be able to see the effect, so the columns must not use all the spaces. So for it to be able to see that effect, so that's why when I did the justify content center, we are not able to. If I remove this, let me remove this and then refresh this. So it's just going to, what did I use? Stretch. Okay, yep. So we use end, so which is 100 pixel, 50 pixels, and 50 pixels. So it's just going to be the end of that specific values, which is, if I start, it's just going to go to the start of that page. Yeah. So you just need to go to the start. But now, if I use the justify content center, so basically I'm saying that, let me remove it. Okay, let me just leave it. So I'm saying that this entire grid, I want you to justify all the columns to the center. That is literally what it means. But for it to be able to see it, there has to be some space. If there is no space, then where is the center? So that is where the challenge lies. So that is why I have to like reduce all these values to create some spaces. So let's say if I refresh this now, then you can see it's going to position those columns at the center of the grid, even though we said this should not be more than, this is 100, 50, 50. So it shouldn't be more than 200 pixel. But even though we still have to position it at the middle of the grid, because 200 pixels is probably something that is going to be up to this point. That's probably where 200 pixels is. But because we specify that value, then we're saying that position the entire grid at the center of the grid container. So that is why we have that. So I'm just going to maybe take this back. I can't even remember the value, but I guess. Okay, now I think I remember. I have one FR, one FR. Yep. So let me just, so that is what this justify content does. It basically just center the whole grid columns to the center of the grid container. I mean, any value you give to it, it can be any value. It doesn't have to be a specific value. So just like the justify contents, we also have the align content. So the align content is just going to justify it uh, at the, I mean, or vertically. It's just going to vertically align those grid in the grid container. So let's say we have the align content. So we're going to have, we can also have like start, end, and center or stretch, other values that we've been using. So you can also have it here, but we're also not going to see the effect until there is some spaces at the like at the bottom of this. That's how we can be able to like see it. So let me go back to this just fire item. I want to go back to stretch so that way we can fully have it. Yeah. Yeah. So that's mostly the properties that we have for this grid container. Although you might find more properties when you check what is it called, the documentation site. I believe I posted it sometimes ago. So if we search, let's say grid, you might find more properties. You can see you can find more properties, and then you can just try it and see how they work or the effects it's going to have on that page. So, like you see here, they talked about grid auto column, grid auto flows, the grid template rows. I think we already discussed about this. So, yeah, and also I think they normally give you examples. Yeah, so this is an example of this. This is yeah. If you use like the repeats kind of. Also, if you click each of them, you're going to see like more discussion about it and what each of the each of the property, what it means, and you're going to see each of them the effects. So like this one, like if you click on this, it's going to change. If you click on this, it's going to change. Just applying these properties to it. So you can see the effect and try it out and stuff like that. Because there are a lot of properties and we really can't discuss each and every properties of CSS. There's a lot, like a lot. So but we're just talking about the commonly used properties, and once we can, like, I can't do something, I just Google it and see someone must have also solved similar problem, and they must have been able to solve it or find something, a way to solve it, so that way you don't spend a lot of time um trying to solve what has been probably solved 100 years ago. Sorry, in the case of CSS, maybe 20 years ago. So that is for grid containers. So like I say, we also have grid items. So for the grid items, they are just like the child to the um to the grid containers. So this is like the parent, and these are these items are like the parents to, I mean, are the children of this grid container. So we already defined the class of these grid items, but then we can also specify some properties that are specific to each of the grid items. The one of the property we can specify is the grid columns. So the grid columns, we can use it to define where we want the grid to start from and where we want the grid to end. The same thing similarly with the like the grid role. We can also use the grid role to define where we want the grid to start from and also where we want the grid to um, end in terms of the role. So we're just going to do something, something similar and see how it works. So let me pick this third grid. So for the third grid, we can specify the grid column. I will first of all do the grid column so we see the way it's going to work. So let's say the grid column, I want it to start from the from one, and then I want it to span across three column. So I can just say one, start from one and then three. Although you can also use like grid start and grid end, grid column start and grid column end, but to be honest, I don't normally use all those. Just if you have to do this, then you're going to specify that as one. Then you're also going to do the end one and specify it as, span of three. But instead of that, you just use the short and grid column. Then you specify the starts and then specify the um the end. So if you have this, and then if I refresh this, yep. So now see what happened now. We have this grid three spanning across three columns, but there is no enough space for it over here. So it has to like jump to this to the second line. So let's say I say it should span across two columns. So if we refresh this now, you see it jumps to the second line. Then we have it spanning across two columns, and then the fourth grid, taking the remaining space. But let's say that I want it to like the role. I want this grid three to be, let's say I want it to be here. So I have to specify the grid row. So I can just simply say that the grid row should be, I want it to start at 1, and then I want you to end at 2. So if we refresh this now, you can see this thing is starting at 1 and spanning across 2 rows. Start at 1, and then it's going to span across 2 column also, because we specified that it should be 2 columns. So let's say we want it to start at let's say start at 2. Yeah, so it's just going to jump and start from here and take over the other one. So let's refresh this. Oh, sorry, we say should start at row 2. Yeah, my bad. So we say should start at row 2. So it's just going to start at row 2, and then it's just going to span across those two items. But let's say I want it to start, let's see, let me see what else we can do. Let's say this one should start the column from column 2. Yeah. So this one should start from column 2, and then we want it to span across 2 columns. So, and then this one should start at the first one and have it up to row 2. So start from row 1 and up to row 2. So let's refresh this. So now you see that we have this starting from the column 2. That's what we specify here. Start from the second column and span across 2 columns. So we start from the second column, and then we span across 2 columns. And then this one is going to start at the row 1, and then this row 1, and then stop at this specific row 2. It's not spanning across row 2, it's just stopping at that point whereby row 2 is going to start. Let me inspect this, and also I think, I'm not sure, but I think Chrome has a functionality whereby when you click on, yeah, I think, yeah, exactly, yeah. So you can see some lines being drawn onto it. So this one is starting from, like, we say should start from 2, I believe, the column 2 up to it should span across 2 columns. So that's why starting from column 2 and then span 6 to 3 and then to 4. So this one is moving back to, it's starting from 1. This is for row. So this row is starting from row 1 and then stopping at row 2. So that's basically what we said. Start from the first row but stop at the beginning of the second row. So that is why we have this as the stopping point of row 2. So the same thing, we also, I forgot to show it in Flex. We also have it in Flex container, but I didn't remember that. Yeah, so for Flex container also, you are going to have something similar whereby if you click on it, you are going to have, yep, yeah. So if you click on it, you see like there's going to be something like a border. I mean, like a border, yep, onto it. So this is going to like specify, like for example, this is like we specify the gap. So this is like the gap. between it. So you can just, play with it and see. Yeah. Okay, so which other properties we have on this one? Um, the grid items. I think we can also talk about the justify self. Yeah, I spoke about the justify items and the align items. So similarly, if I want to override these two values in the grid items, so you can use the justify self. So let's say I have this justify self to start. So here we have it as stretch. The justify item is stretch. So if I want it to be the grid 4, I want it to be justified to start. So if we refresh, you can see that just take over just only the starts at the start of the column. That is only what is going to um, take. If I say center, so it's going to move to the center of the grid of the column. So you're just going to move to the center because just it's not going to affect any other grid items because we are only specifying it for just grid 4. So we're just specifying it for this one and then it's just going to affect it only. Similarly, also, you can do the same thing for the align self. For the align self, you can, let's say we give it center. Let's see if we have some. Yep. So it's just going to be at the center. You can see. So you can also, give it similar values. You can give it start. You can give it start. It's going to move to the start. Give it end. It's just going to move to the end. Yeah. So basically that is for grid and that is for the laying out of a page. But so let's say I know that we did everything on just one single page, but let's say we are using this on a new page. So you're just going to span across all the pages. We might not have this background color, but if like I said, when we look at CNN, let's see. So we can I think we have this second system. Yep. So we have this second. So we have something like this here. So let's say this CNN page. Let me see. Yeah. So we spoke a little bit about it the other time. So we say we can, this can be like one column, this can be a column, and then this can be another column. So we can specify this in grid form, whereby we can also use flexbox for it. It doesn't really matter, but mainly we can easily do this in grid by specifying this as a column, this as a column, and this as a column. And within each column, similarly to flexbox, I said we can have a flexbox inside another flexbox. In grid also, the same thing. You can have a grid inside another grid. So let's say you have multiple columns inside this single column. Let me see if there's something like that. Okay, look at this. Look at this. This is like a column. This is like a column, and this is like a column. But within this column, you still have a grid inside it. You have two columns. You have two columns again. So that's like a grid inside a grid. So let me just give an example of that. Let's see this. So let me see where I can get this. Let's go back to this. Okay, so let's see. Let's try it for this one. So let's say the one is, or let me use something else. I want to use, let me use two. We have this. Okay, let's use 5 then. Okay, so now let me say I have another div inside this. I can now call it, let me give it a class called the grid. Let me just give it grid container. 2. Right? Now I'll have grid items inside it. So I can say grid items. Now I can give this one let's say grid item 1 and give it grid item 1, and then I can do the similar thing and grid item 2. So let me just give it some value, grid item 1 and then grid item 2. So let's refresh this and just see what we have before applying those grid properties to it. So yeah, I have it in grid, I believe grid 5, right? So we have it here, we have the grid 1, grid 2, but nothing is really happening because we've not specified those properties for it. So now let me just copy one of these, and then I'm going to do the same thing I did for that. Okay, so inside this, let me just find random color. Let's do this for this. Okay. Okay, so let's just see what we have so far. Oh, sorry, we need to change this. Yep, so we have grid 1 and we have grid 2. Okay, let's change these things to all right, so we have grid 1 and grid 2. So now let's specify the grid container 2 to now. So we just specify display of grid. Nothing happens. What? So the next one, we are also going to specify the grid column templates or the grid template column. So here we can give it, because we want it to be like a 2 columns. So we can say 1 FR and 1 FR. So it's just gonna be the same size. That's gonna take over the available space. So when I refresh this now, you're going to see that we have it in 2 columns. So we can also give it, let's say, like height or the rows. Let's say grid. So let me give it just give it 50 pixel, 50 pixel. So if we refresh this, like stretch, let's see if we can give it more values. So basically, you get the idea. You can have a grid inside another grid. So this is like it takes over the whole height. I think that is the height of the container. So that is just like a grid inside another grid. We have rows and column here, and then we also have columns and rows inside um one grid, inside one column rather. So that is literally what happens there. So here also they just have 3 columns, and here they have like 3 columns. If you count this, it's just that it doesn't have content. So basically, that's how you can like create a layout on pages like that, and then you can add your content. For example, this one we can say maybe this is an H1. We don't know. This is an image. This, then you just specify those contents that you have for it. So that is that for grade. So from tomorrow, we're going to stop here today. Is there any question before I even move on?
No question.
Okay. So from tomorrow, I wanted to say that, so we're just going to start like a basic project whereby we are going to be using like all the properties we've been discussing about, and then we're just going to create like a page layout or something, like a page website. So from tomorrow, that is what we're going to do, what we are going to be doing. But while we are also doing that together. I will also give you something to also, work on personally that you can use. Um, let's see. So I'm going to attach this image. Yeah, and I'm going to send it to a group. So what we're going to do is that this is an image and it's maybe designed using, I don't know, whatever tools for products, all these product designers, what they normally use. Can't remember most of them. Some use Photoshop, some use Sketch. So they use different kind of tools to design stuffs like this. But let's say like you as a web designer now, you want to create something like this using HTML and CSS that we've discussed about. So like how do you go about it? What do you do? So that is what we actually want. I want you guys to like try to think how you can create. Don't worry about the background, this background, just worry about this box here. So how can you create something like this using the CSS that we've been HTML and CSS that we've discussed so far? So basically, if I'm just going to summarize like what this is or how you can do it, we can see that this entire box is just like a container. So a container, you can use maybe a div or something or whatever, you can use it. This image at the top here, this is an image. So I'm going to provide the image for you guys. So this is an image, so you can just have the image at the top. These rounded corners, we talked about it a little bit. That was we use the border radius or something to do something like this. So you can also do something like this using that properties. And for all these ones, the contents are aligned at the center. So there are different techniques you can use. You can either use maybe Flexbox, or you can use just the align item center or align text center. So there are different ways to achieve this. So that's for that. We can, let's say maybe this other summary is H1. This one we can say paragraph. And then for this one, this is like another container inside a container. So we can say maybe this is also a div. And this one also have like the rounded border radius. So you can give it some radius. This is for both top, left, right, and bottom. And then the content inside it also, we can, this is like this is, I think this is mostly used icon. This is like an icon. And the icon, you can use something like SVG. I would try to look for that icon and also paste it in the group. So that way you don't have to worry about searching it. And then this also is like the annual plan. This is like a normal text that is, maybe you can apply the CSS property font style or something, or you use the HTML tag, maybe strong or B, which is bold, something like that. You can use that. Also for this one, you can use the normal, maybe, I don't know, maybe you give it a font size or something, and then the color is actually maybe a gray or something, a gray color. This is a link, and then it has a text decoration of underline. You can use that for it. And for you to like have this side by side, you can use like the flexbox properties, when it's a one-dimensional layout. So you can just align everything at the center. And also this is like a button, and also you can use something like the anchor tag and then specify some CSS properties such that it looks like a button. Anyone, you can just use any technique. And this one also has some rounded corners, and just like what we discussed here, you can use the same properties. And then for this one, you also have normal text that is aligned to the center. So, and the difference is just that this background is also white. Yeah, so this is white, why this is covered with the image. So you can't really say, oh, maybe the background is white or not. So basically that is the way it is. And you guys should just, try it. And tomorrow we'll start working on a collaborative project, just some projects, some things whereby we make use of all those CSS properties that we've discussed so far. And if there's something new that we need to do also, we can, make use of a new CSS properties, and I'll try my best to explain what it means if that is the first time we are coming across it. So I guess since if there's no question, we can stop the class for today and